to kind of spirit commercialization. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to be here to present my work, and thank you for inviting me to have this such a great opportunity. And let me give a little of my background. I'm trained as a device engineer and process engineer, and I have a little bit of knowledge about the device physics. And today I'm going to show how I come up with a nanoscale vacuum channel transistor, and more specifically, how the gates around the structure that are for realizing this structure idea. This slide shows our evolution of computer history. Then only 15th centuries we used to use a mechanical notation to compute mathematics, and as time goes by, there is the era to use a vacuum tube as your calculating element for the computer, which is implemented in the very first computer, which is called ENIAC in 1946. And then this computer becomes modernized after the solid state transistor replaced the vacuum tube. So now the solid state transistor and integrated circuit becomes a workhorse of the overall electronics, including our gadget like a cell phone, and then computer and projector and TV everywhere around ours. And this is inside of the computational elements. There's a mechanical parts, and then there was the vacuum tube. Then as time goes by, we built a solid state based transistor, and first integrated circuit built on the germanium actually. The very first transistor built in the germanium, and then later on we used to use silicon as our channel material. Now we are using polysilicon, but it's very interesting to look back around the history. The very first material, the transistor material was germanium, and then at that point we used metal as a gate. Then we used silicon and silicon dioxide as electric and polysilicon as a gate. But as a device advanced more and then scaled more aggressively, we now consider about to use metal as a gate again, and then we recently started to replace the silicon channel into the germanium channel, and the germanium itself has a better the carrier mobility characteristics, and goes beyond. We also, in parallel, using to mimic the mechanical relay in the MEMS or MEMS scale, and then the same analogy. How about the vacuum channel transistor? We can go back to the vacuum channel transistor along this trajectory and along this evolution of switching history. So I was examining why the vacuum tube went into the dinosaur way, and what's the factor to replace the vacuum tube into the silicon channel transistor. So this is the very first computer based on vacuum channel. As you see, there's a tons of the vacuum tube, and then the vacuum tube itself is the single device itself is about centimeter scale, and the channel is packaged by the glass envelope to maintaining the level of vacuum inside of the tube. But as this is made by the glass is very often broken or burned out, so there's people to continuously replace the tube, right? Then this is a very modern computer. This is called Mac, and then the entire function is much more improved performance and the memory density and the lower latency and the very lower power consumption. So all the functions are enabled by this small human scale, friendly scale capability, and then inside of this computer, there's a processor which becomes the workhorse for overall processing, and inside of the chip there's a transistor which becomes a fundamental building block to enabling the computer. So let me show you the terminal characteristics. The vacuum tube has basically triad. There's a three terminal. There's a cathode and anode, and then current drivability across the cathode to anode is controlled by the third gate, which is called the grid. So basically grid control the resistance across the cathode and anode. And whatever you call the transistor has also 3 terminal gates and drain. The gates also control the channel conductance across the source and drain. So if you measure the gate voltage versus source to drain current characteristics, there's like a non-linear exponential increase in the drain current. So even though we call the electrode in different names, their overall terminal behavior is exactly the same. So in terms of functionality, the vacuum tube and transistor is basically the same. So we can use it either for the digital switch, whether we can control the device on and off by controlling the gate voltage, or we can use this kind of non-linearity to amplify the signal. So the small signal fed into the gate or grid can be amplified by the drain terminal. So there's the carrier transport physics difference, but the terminal characteristic is identical. So I was wondering what happens, what is the factor that makes the vacuum tube die and the solid state device replace everything. And I look at one of each of the parameters. So you may have seen this kind of very glowing, high fidelity, very expensive amp that is very glowing, right? Then glowing doesn't necessarily utilize very fundamental to operate the vacuum tube. Actually glowing is heat to heat up the cathode because the electric field itself is not sufficient to draw the electron, draw the current out of the cathode. So we intentionally apply the heat to emit more extra current from the cathode. So the energy to heat up the cathode actually consumes a lot higher than that's supposed to be utilized for the computation. So one of the drawback of the vacuum tube is to use the heater to heat up the cathode, which actually consumes waste energy. And then, as you can see, this is the glove envelope and the glass envelope, so it's very fragile, so it can be, cracked, and we have to replace it. Then, as you can see, this is the single tube is a single computation element. It's hard to integrate into our system. For example, the Intel i7 processor has tens of billions of transistors in our some-layer size chip, but imagine that how come we can create a billions of vacuum tube to create the equivalent of the i7 processor. So it's also difficult to integrate, to make us integrate circuit. So basically, the weakness of the vacuum tube is too hot, consumes a lot of energy and bulky and fragile. And then as you use the heat, and then it's very fragile, the lifetime tends to be very limited. But still, the reason why the very high fidelity premium audio and some aerospace application, they are still use a vacuum tube because the vacuum tube itself has a very unique advantage that silicon cannot compete. Then I will explain it later. So those are the drawbacks of the vacuum tube I explained, but the drawbacks are very relevant to size of the vacuum tube. The heat is necessary because the field effect, the electric field itself is not sufficient to draw the electrons. It means that if we scale the device very, very small and equivalently, if we can increase the electric field from the cathode tip, we can attract more of the electrons even without the heater. So the bulky and the power consumption is very relevant to the size of the vacuum channel transistor, and the price, the cost, is also relevant to the size. If you can make a vacuum tube by using very mature silicon, the process technology, if you can integrate this vacuum channel transistor in the solid state fabrication technology, we can also reduce the cost per tube. And then, as according to the reduction in the size, we can also reduce the operational voltage. By that way, you can also increase the reliability and extend the lifetime of the transistor, lifetime of the vacuum tube. So every benefit is very relevant to the size. Then each of the drawbacks can be solved if we can make the device very, very small and very nanometer scale. Then the vacuum tube, the benefit of the vacuum tube outperform the MOSFET is that the amplification of the gain is much superior than the silicon, because there's no, in the vacuum there's no crystal, no lattice. So as soon as the electrons escape from the emitter, there's no collision event at all. So in principle, the electron energy gain and then their velocity, the theoretical velocity of the electron in the vacuum is outperformed than the silicon, because there's no scattering, no collision events. So there's by that way, vacuum tube is very immune against the noise and very immune against any kind of environmental factor like radiation or temperature, stuff like that. So if we examine the history, the factor that enabled the vacuum tube transition into the MOSFET is that the MOSFET's benefit is cheap and easy to integrate, that enabling the integrated circuits and some more reliable, consume low energy, and then the reduction in the operational voltage relevant to the long lifetime, and by doing so, you can create a lot of variable application. So the message in this slide I want to deliver is, if we combine the vacuum tube device physics with our MOSFET fabrication technology, then we can combine the both of the benefit into the single transistor. So my agenda now becomes that I'm trying to resurrect the vacuum tube, the device physics in the nanoscale regime to harvest both of the benefits